Hey everybody, Barry again. Interviewing today Richard Naz. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, he'll pronounce it for himself. He's the Technical SEO Manager at Wall Street Journal, so he has a lot of experience. He's been doing SEO for a pretty long time, known him for a while. I actually scheduled this vlog with him, I think a year or so ago before COVID hit. We were planning then on talking about the elections and live coverage and stuff like that, but then obviously COVID hit and now the elections are over, so I guess we're going to talk about something else. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to talk about in the whole list, but I have a feeling this is going to be one heck of a conversation. I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. And I'm doing this one in my office. Again, Richard and I are both fully vaccinated well after the 2-week period of the second shot. So we're going to do this in my office. I think I'm doing it in my real office. As you can see here, have the little equipment set up. This camera you can't see, but it's there. I think Richard's going to sit somewhere around over there, and I'm going to sit like over here. And the camera is going to be on both of us. We'll still be about, I think, 10 feet away, so it should be good. But I'm looking forward to doing this again, and it's been a while since I've been trying to work this out with Richard, so it's great to have it happen, and he should be here any minute now. So stay tuned and hope you enjoy it. So Richard, thank you for coming here and meeting with me. I appreciate it. I know we were supposed to have this meeting probably over a year ago, and then this thing called the pandemic came along and decided otherwise.
Certainly.
But yeah. We are both vaccinated. We are bulletproof, almost 95%, 94 point something. You have the Pfizer shot or the Moderna?
I got a Pfizer.
So we both got Pfizer, so it's like a 94 point something percent chance. Something like 95.6. I forgot the exact number. Moderna's one, the other one. We're pretty good. But thank you so much.
They're the good ones.
Thank you so much for coming. Can you tell people in this camera who you are and why it's so valuable that you're here for us?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor. So, my name's Richard Nazarewicz. People call me Rich. Some people call me Naz has been since school because no one can pronounce my last name, being Polish in England. I've lived in Spain. I've lived in different countries. No one can pronounce my name apart from in Poland. And randomly in the New York area. So a lot of Polish here, right? So, but a lot of people call me Naz, and that's fine. So I'm a Technical SEO Manager at Wall Street Journal right now. I've had many different lives. We can touch on some of them. But yeah, this was supposed to be a year ago. I think to this week almost.
It could have been, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like literally we're a year later. We had an office. I booked a room. I booked stuff. I booked champagne. No, I didn't.
It was the whole thing. I remember that because I planned to meet, I think like 7 different SEOs in New York City at that point.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think maybe they're going to shut down New York City at some point.
That's right.
Should we risk it? And then some people were like, yes, some people were no. And then I'm like, you know what, let's back off. You said no pretty much right away, I think.
Yeah.
But some of the younger people, like Lily and so forth, are like, let's do it. I'm like, you know what, let's make it easy. So I appreciate you doing it now. It's been a crazy year.
It really has. So I, like yourself, probably you've been working from home. You're back in the office now. You have a great office. This is a great location. It's 45 minutes from my house. Who knew? So that was easy. And working from home, I thought, well, this is going to be great because I'm at home. I don't have to commute into the city anymore. So that's 4 hours of my day back to me. It was, but wow, I've never worked so hard in my life.
Yeah, people say it's 24/7. It's like.
Yeah, it's like this like 20-hour days. I don't think I actually do 20-hour days. Maybe I have done. It feels like 20-hour days.
You can never leave your work, I guess. So I feel the same way here because it's 5 minutes from my house.
Right.
But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So let's go a little bit through your history. So I know you worked at a company back in the old days like HP and Compaq. I think Compaq was acquired by HP at one point.
Yeah, so I actually went through 2 iterations. I'm actually a Decky. So I started with Digital Computer Corporation, like with the guys with the I Love Unix t-shirts and the beards. And, I think I got one at one point as an honorary member and I couldn't grow a beard at that point. So they were like, I don't know. So, I started out working on servers and storage and learning assembler and all sorts of stuff. But there was this cool little thing in the corner that was called AltaVista that Digital was doing stuff. It ended up being everything to the web, I think was the slogan at the time. But the older members of what was Digital at that point kind of, I think they laughed at it, the .com boom. But I just graduated. I'm like trying to get to this shiny thing over here. I'm like, this is great because I knew it's like I'd mess around with Gopher, I'd be messing around with all these like weird tools that used to exist. And so that was kind of my launch into it, I think. And so that turned into Compact. Compact acquired Digital, and then HP acquired it.
Cool. So you're saying AltaVista was hosted in an office nearby you, you're saying?
Well, obviously the headquarters were in New Hampshire.
Right.
But we had a big, sort of the Central European office was in Reading in the UK, which is where I'm from. So that was it was called Deck Park. That was a huge place. I also spent time in the south of France, in Valbonne, at the competency centre, which is still there, with some genius engineers down there.
Very good. And then eventually you ended up here in New York.
Via Spain.
Via Spain. I was in Spain once. I was in Spain twice, maybe. I forgot.
Yeah. Well, I went there once for HP, actually, to do something. Fell in love with it. Left my job and started an agency there. And spent 13 years there.
Which agency was that? That was called?
That was called Blue Fusion Solutions.
Cool. Do you know the SEOs there in Spain?
At that time, it was a real hot. It wasn't a thing. It just wasn't a thing for a long time. I see SEOs now there,
right.
But back then it was kind of like, it wasn't. And I was like really swatting stuff that you guys were doing over here. I was like just like sponging this stuff in. And doing that on sites there, and that's what just got me going. I was building sites for people and apps and web apps.
Right, because I think back then, like the stuff Google would like push out in the US would happen way earlier than what happened in like other countries.
Right, but I was reading English.
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of other people were too. Don't get me wrong, there were some smart cookies there, and there are, and there's some people who are doing great things. So.
All right, and then so that's when you started doing SEO, is when you started your own company.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself an SEO. I was kind of like a digital producer, or at that point, like a web master of sorts, I don't know. But yeah, I was like making sure, and I was always the guy that said like, let's optimize this site, let's make sure this site has title tags on it. Everyone's like, nah, we don't need to do that. And then spent the rest of my life, and I still do today, convincing people we don't need the keyword tag.
You used to work recently in the meta news keyword field. Meta keywords was something that never worked, or in the past 15 years.
Right.
At least Google said so. But then in Google News, Google did use the meta keywords tag for many, many years. I think just maybe like 3, 4, 5 years ago. I forgot the exact date.
Right. We still populate it, but it's more for internal use. So I just keep making that known internally. That's
Yeah. Don't waste your time if you don't need it. And so how do you end up at Wall Street Journal?
A phone call. I was doing my own thing over here. I was consulting. I worked for a couple of companies for a while. I oversaw the rollout of the update of the Honeywell global website on WordPress. I really specialized on WordPress for a long time. So built WordPress, grassroots stuff. And so that was a WordPress site, and I sort of produced that, got that out there, made sure the SEO was good. And then and some other sites I was just still working on. There were some sites I worked on with the British Council in the UK, which is part of the British government. Pepe Jeans, I did some stuff for Ogilvy. And then the phone rang one day and said, hey, would you like to come and talk to a really big publisher? And I said, okay, I'll come and talk to anyone. I was looking for contract work at that point, and turned out to be the Wall Street Journal, and 6 months later I was hired. So.
Nice. And you joined the existing team, or you were?
So the team there was a previous setup. There were the bones of a team that were there, but they were clearly investing in SEO. So part of my job my remit was to take SEO knowledge I had, and go with it and really build that out. And that's what we've done. And we've achieved some really cool stuff. Basically because we got management buy-in. That's the foundation of a lot of this.
And that happened quickly after you were hired, or it took a while?
So it took a little bit to trickle into the organization, because there's a lot of set pieces, right. And so you have to small wins across the. We also, if you go back to, we turned off the Google's paywall. We implemented our own solution. So I was basically, for a while I was optimizing a snippet. And then flexible sampling happened. That kind of changed everything, right? So that was a key moment for us. That allowed Google to obviously index the whole article.
Interesting. All right, so let's talk a little about. We kind of talked about little topics we want to touch on, and one was about how you or technical SEO should be approaching the global news organization like Wall Street Journal. So give me some like ideas of what you're thinking there.
So first it's vast. So if we take just the technology stack, one of the first things I did was to draw out a schematic of like the different areas. So if you look at politics, markets, opinions, lifestyle, these might sit on different stacks, different apps. They're all built, not all, but quite often built by different teams. They all collaborate together, but they all have slightly different flavors, right? We are standardizing that a lot more now. And then, so what I actually did was there was a lot of data capturing at that point. How is this working? How is it populated? How does it,
in terms of the process of getting content onto the website, or?
Well, there's that also. We're really focusing on that now a lot more. But I was looking at how we're going to optimize this page loading. How is this page rendering on mobile? And so we had the whole mobile first indexing come into play, which we switched over some time ago. So we really worked on that a lot across the things. Just things like we standardized the 404 page across the site instead of having all these like random pieces which are like popping up and sometimes nothing about it.
And is this just on the Wall Street Journal, WSJ.com, or it's across other brands as well?
So this is where it gets, so I actually, not other brands, I didn't work on Barron's and Market Watch. There's another team that work on that, but we work hand in hand and we share solutions. It's a really good setup. And right now it's more collaborative than ever. So, but what I did do is there's subdomains. So I also work I still work on WordPress sites because a lot of the subdomains like Future of Everything Festival and some of our other suites, these are events or we just launched a great site called News Literacy, which explains the difference of why opinions exist for newspapers and why does the regular newsroom exist and what's the difference. And I think that was a really good piece for us to do. And so those sites I tend to work with as well. They are independent from the main WSJ.com in terms of they are their own stacks and they tend to be WordPress sites.
Are you the only technical SEO on the team, or you have a bunch of them, or how's the SEO team structured? It's not really structured like an SEO team.
Yeah, it's a little different. So we're a little. We have an SEO strategy editor in the newsroom. Actually, we have two right now, and that team is growing. So Ed is kind of like my right-hand man in the newsroom. So he's there looking at headlines, looking at content, optimizing that, and working with people who do that. I work with a data analyst as well, but I do focus a lot, and we'll come to that in a second, but I do focus a lot on technical strategy across the site and most of those subdomains anyway. There are a couple of other parts of the WSJ which are like the trust that kind of work independently. They've got their own engineers and setup. And then obviously I've got my colleagues over in Barron's and Market Watch who we work with and we share ideas with. And sometimes we overlap, we help each other out. But we don't have like 10 people doing technical SEO.
Right. Okay, so can you talk a little bit about like your day? Is it the same type of steps that you take every day, or is like every day there's a new challenge, a new fire?